anime. It's fucking everywhere, dude. If it exists, there's an anime of it. That's fact, 100%. Prove me wrong. I dare you. I do my research. Sit down and eat your Cocoa Pops. With anime having such a huge following around the world, there's no surprise that video games based on said animus are everywhere too. You got your games based on 800 Piece, Naruto, Dragon Ball Z, and My Hero Macarena. You even now have games where all these heroes have come together for an epic battle to the death in Hop Force. However, in all these games' history, we have never seen the correct representation of one of the best jump shonen characters in existence, because they are too afraid of the mighty wrath of Corey Baxter. But what happens when you want a game with an anime feel, but not being based on an anime at all? Insert Mitsurugi Kamui Developed by Zenith Blue, Mikikazu Hildebrand is an arena fighter, similar to something along the lines of Pokken Tournament. And really, what you see is what you get. As we dive deeper into this video, you'll see it's not really much at all. But if you want a deep and thought-provoking story, take a listen to this. You play as a schoolgirl Misa. She's pretty neato with a sword. She has to pursue her once bestie, her best bitch, her BFF LOL OMG, Suzuka, who has somehow, by some strange turn of events, got her hand in a demonic sword. Feeling pretty miffed that her gal pal has fucked the donkey with this life choice, she has to save her by killing her. That's all you need, because that's all we get. I'm gonna move on now. Before the game starts, we get a good vibe about how the rest of the experience with this game is gonna play out. The first cutscene in this game has absolutely no sound. No music, no voice acting.
It's great if you want to know what it's like playing a game while deaf.
Although this does give you the perfect chance to add your own voice acting. My name is Misa. I am a Blade Templar. Blade Templars protect this world from demons using ancient techniques. I am currently searching for the most terrible artifact, the Demon Blade. A sword imbued with the power of demons. It slowly drains the life of those who are enticed to use it, drinking their blood until they are no more. I believe my former classmate, Suzuki Swift, who slayed our teacher, has fallen under its curse. I must destroy the blade, and Suzuki too, if it is too late, though she was once my friend. You've lost your touch, Misa. Suzuka! See you bastard. You can back you motherfucker. After a minute and a half, the game starts, and soon you'll find out that this is really all the game offers. When it says it's an arena fighter, it's really not kidding. The game is honestly just a wave combat simulator. There's no real coherent plot. The stages you play on are very limited and has weak variation. Like this first one is just a random pavement disc in Japan somewhere, and that ends up being the case for all the different stages in the game, and that ends up being the case for the rest of the stages in the game too. They look so unappealing because there's nothing in them. In terms of gameplay, it kind of feels the same way as well. Enemies just spawn in wave after wave. You get more spawning in as you play through. The problem is you just get fed up after a while because there's nothing really to stop the game from getting repetitive. We do get slight variation in enemy types. We have the generic foot soldiers, homeboys in snazzy suits, each suit slightly changing how each enemy will attack. Black suits are the normal type. They just shimmy around, taking the odd dig at you here and there. Red suits are a bit more squirrely. They'll try to dodge you much more and have charging attacks with their sword, sliding forward and poking you with it. And blue suits charge up and fire beams at you from a distance. You'll also come across very unimpressive and easy to beat big Metal Gear wannabes,
and giant sword wankers,
both of which are no challenge at all. To dispose of these lovely gentlemen, Misa has two forms of attack, hand-to-hand combat and her sword. One of the mechanics in this game is that her sword has a meter that depletes every time you use it. To keep it topped up, you have to keep jumping back and forth between using the sword and using hand-to-hand combat, which in a way is a decent idea. It has the player constantly using the two combat styles to prevent them from just sticking to one form of attacks. The X button is your hand-to-hand combat button, and Y is your sword button. And if you press and hold B, you can charge up an attack that is the most anime-looking attack in the whole game. The only way I can describe it is that you do two sonic booms. One indicates you've reached the first level, and the second indicates stage 2 and most powerful of the attack. And once you release it, it unleashes a devastating attack that varies depending on the level you've charged to. Level 1 is a simple slash that hits all enemies in front of you, while stage 2 unleashes a flurry of attacks that can help build up an insane hit combo. It looks so pretty, you can tell all the enemies caught up with it are totally like, oh Lord Jesus! Oh Jesus! As you fight your attackers, the hilt of your katana begins to collect red rings. These accumulate over time. When these form, by hitting the right trigger, you essentially absorb their energy and restore your health bar and your sword bar. The more rings you've collected, the more your bars are restored. Your foes will also enter a bleeding state and begin to glow red as they take more damage. But this doesn't really help much considering they still take a shit ton of abuse before they fall. To be honest, I don't really notice a difference damage output wise when they go into their bleeding state. I think it's really there more for telling you when your foe is close to death rather than give you an edge in a fight. All they do is twitch and squirt blood once the stage begins, but it's all cosmetic. Ooh! Ooh, it's like Sweeney Todd's wet dream. The combat system is very simplistic, but feels satisfying. The combos are very easy to perform as each attack is literally one button. It's a good and bad thing, really. It's good because the response time is bang on. There's no input lag and it feels like you're in full control the whole time. However, you begin to feel numb after a while as it's just straight up button mashing. A little more variation would have been nice. Every time you dispatch an enemy, they drop these red orbs. These accumulate as points in the bottom right corner. You use these points to upgrade Misa at the end of each stage. You can unlock more moves for her, but you really only unlock 2 moves. While your current moveset just updates slightly with more pizzazz to her attacks, like allowing you to have more slashes in her combos or allowing herself to send enemies into the air, although most of your points will be spent leveling up your health and katana bars. At the end of each stage, you get a boss fight with absolutely no explanation. They just sort of appear and you have to fight them to finish the stage. The bosses in this game somehow look interesting, but at the same time look generic. Like, this first boss is a one-armed samurai thing, and then the next is a plain looking green cyborg.
I need healing.
Then we get a throwaway fight with Suzuka. Then the next boss is the first one again, but this time it has 2 blade arms rather than 1, and a few more spiky bits. And then we fight Suzuka again for the final time.
Great selection.
These bosses are nothing special. They're not very tough at all. They just lumber around the place and waddle around like they got a poopy. They don't look intimidating, they just look fucking doofy. They have at most 3 different attacks they use, and more come out as their health bar depletes. But you will not die fighting these guys. Their patterns get so predictable. The only decent boss fight in this game are the ones with Suzuka, and honestly, these fights have a bit more zest to them. You find yourself actually taking damage to her. Her attacks can juke you out, and you feel pretty good fighting her. It feels like, for the first time, you've got an actual opponent. And unlike the other bosses, her animations are really good. She's fast, her moves flow into one another, she looks like she has traction on the ground, and you feel like there's weight shifting as she moves across the floor. In fact, the same can be said for Misa herself. Her animations is the best the game has to offer. She moves like lightning, and all her animations are very flowing and a joy to watch. Going from hand-to-hand combat to swordplay is instantaneous and nothing on her jitters. Going from running to jumping and even right into a dodge roll looks fantastic, and is really nice on the eyes as you play at 60 frames per second. And the final boss shows all of these things in action. After cheesing this round, we find that we're going old school with this boss as Suzuka gets a second form, as the demon of the sword finally takes over her and she becomes the Queen of Marble, and all of those fancy flowing animations disappear as we have another stiffy here.
Stiffy.
The second form of this boss can be a bit tough, but not because of intricate AI programming. It's because of ridiculous attack speed and just the awkwardness of her attacks. It feels like the game wants you to dodge her attacks faster than you can process what's going on. If you can time it right, you can dodge maybe 2 or 3 of her quick slashes, but it's almost impossible to not take damage, as one way or the other, you'll get hit from her. It's like the hitbox on her sword is longer than the game model, so avoiding those attacks feels like it's just not doable. Watch it, watch it. Ha! You missed!
Ah, you bitch!
Thankfully, wearing her down bit by bit, she's finally defeated. You get that final hit in, more anime bullshit happens, and she dead.
You suck, you jackass.
Miserable Kangaroo Hullabaloo is certainly an interesting title. It's one that feels like half of it was worked on with great effort, while the other half was just stapled in to finish it. Being quite honest, I feel like this game comes off more as a tech demo than anything else. It has its core elements like combat and character animation down, well, for 2 of them anyway. But other than that, it's got nothing else. Misa and Suzuka are the best looking models in game, with their textures looking really sharp and clean, and their physics are top notch. But with enemies looking very generic and dull, their animations looking stiff and numb, and their rather sluggish AI programming, the game does lose steam very quickly. Throw that in with a very bland stage design, and only having a total of 5, your game will only last you an hour and a half, but this is mostly padded out because of your foes taking forever to die. You really feel like you've got an unfinished product. At €10 on Steam at its regular price, Milkshake Krillin Helicopter just isn't worth the kind of money. For what it offers and its unpolished state you get in, it's not worth the buy. I bought it when it was €2 on Steam, and only then, if you're really curious, I would buy it. But it's certainly not at €10. Muffled Kardashian Hiccup, you missed the bar by quite a bit. Develop yourself a bit more and maybe next time, you could reach your full potential. Hey, what's happening, chaps? It is TapChap here, and I just want to say thank you so much for supporting this video and sitting all the way through it. First video after a long time. It's always weird to come back with a video after being gone for so long. If you're new to the channel or you may have missed the last update video, I would recommend going to watch that to kind of get you up to speed as to why videos have not been being uploaded in the last couple of months. Because if I was to talk about it now, this video would be made a lot longer, and I want to get this thing done. We got my new PC. It's working great. Games are running great on it. Vegas is working great. It's just the codec isn't working, so you have to understand that I had to sit and play through this entire game again to get the footage, because no matter what I did, the codecs wouldn't work. If that's not dedication, I don't know what is. Please subscribe. This video was shelved a while ago because I just wasn't happy with it, so I had to revamp the script, re-record everything, and now it's finally done. I'm just glad to get this thing out of my hair, and now I can start fresh on a brand new projects, and hopefully this year will be my year on YouTube. Started a full-time job now though, which may hinder progress a bit, but I will do my very best. But if you enjoyed this video and you'd like to see more, then I would really appreciate it if you maybe liked the video, hit the subscribe button and shared it with your friends on Facebook and Twitter. And if you want to keep up to date with all TapChap show content, then you can follow me on Twitter. Links will be in the description. But anyway guys, I want to wrap this up so this video can finally end. But thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye! Miami Kasumi.